Hello, hello. Thank you, Petteri, for introduction. So today I want to talk about how we really can get the open BIM flourishing in our organizations. And as we have today speak widely about a lot of developments and pilotings and testings, but usually where we struggle with is the deployment and getting beyond that. But before we get to the topic of today, I have one promotional slide about YIT. So if you are do not know who YIT or what YIT is, YIT is one of our biggest main contractors in Northern Europe. We build houses, business premises, infrastructure, and personally myself, I work as a BIM specialist in infrastructure, so roads, rails, and so on. But with that promotion said, we can jump to the topic of today. So, to help you relate with what I will share today, I was thinking to look things through on any generic development projects. And what to really look out for is what we need to get right in each step of the development process to get that adoption happening, and what to do after the adoption so we don't have to worry about this whole cycle again. For my case of development project was foreman with a stick. Just quick gallop. How many of you are familiar with the foreman with a stick or foreman with the GNSS receiver? Good to see. That's half, more than half. So for the rest of you, foreman with the stick is the most simplest concept. We take surveyor's GNSS receiver and the tablet, and we give it to the foremen or site engineers. So we don't need a surveyor to go and mark things, but the foremen and site engineers, they could do that by themselves, utilize the CAD models or OpenBIM models and figure themselves out where things are. And personally, this project, what I started 1 year ago, I was a little bit ambitious that I wanted also to teach them a CAD. And usually, like foremen and site engineers and the surveyors, softwares and CADs, they don't really connect. But that was the plan that I wanted to also achieve during the deployment. But then when I had this development project figured out and the benefits and workflows, and I started to take it to the sites, I got this kind of reactions. This is not really it's a surveyor stick. Why it doesn't go for the surveyor? I'm foreman, I shouldn't do it. Or, well, if you must, maybe trainee could do it. It's not my job. And this is very common reaction with anything we have with BIM or this digital construction, where the traditional employees or traditional construction employees are not so familiar with. And when we more development like-minded persons talk, we usually complain about this through that, oh, there's so much big change resistance in our industry, no one wants to change, or they just have stuck on their old routines, they don't want to change, or they don't have motivation to improve things even further. But I truly believe that there is much more simpler reason and much more clear why we have this kind of reactions from the field. I believe that we all, you and me, we do things the easiest way possible, always. Or has anyone done anything more difficult way than they have done if they know easier way? Of course not. We always go where the fence is the lowest, always. It's why do things more difficult? So that's why we really should think with all these BIM and BIM-based productions and practices and standardizations and all this way, we need to figure out the benefit and is it really the easiest way to utilize or get that benefit. So, one of the biggest things, of course, we need to understand that people it takes time and effort to change, to learn, First, we need to unlearn from our current routine, how we were done things before, and then we need to learn something that we are not so confident about or we are not so sure about, and then we get the benefit. For example, it's a good example that we have so many different digital tools and softwares where we can do this kind of like worksite planning. But why anyone would change PDF worksite plannings to digital one? Because the benefit is the same, but you don't really have to unlearn your habits and learn new ones when you already have a good habits of utilizing and drawing PDFs. And that's really crucial for us to think and plan if we want to make adoption faster or we want to deploy some new practices, is that what's really the benefit? And is the benefit big enough that we can get people excited about it? And if the benefit itself is remarkable, how about the workflow? How much effort everyone has to see to get that benefit? If it's too much effort, then no one wants to put so much effort in it. So how I usually think, and this is, I think all of us are doing this, like this is very common for any development project. The development where we try to find those benefits, we try to find those workflows, and then we pilot it when we have like this kind of a few use cases. We pilot and test and experiment, how did it go, how much benefit did we get, what was the workflows, how can we improve this, and we cycle it until we have this kind of like a recipe for success, and then we can go deployment. And I mean, yeah, there's nothing special in there. But then when we go to the deployment, then everything starts to struggle. And usually there's quite simple recipe or math function on individual level how the people change. We need to have possibility of utilizing that GNSS receiver as a foreman. Is the foremen and site engineers excited about utilizing the GNSS receiver? And do they have the ability and understanding of utilizing that tool? And it's simple math, and you should try to get that change number to be 1. If it's something lesser, then you have much more difficult time to change. And that's what happens like on individual level. We need to try to get those numbers higher. Quick gallop also, in any of like the BIM-based production that you have in your own organizations, how many of you believe that the possibility is the hardest thing to achieve from these 3 elements? No one. So it's possible. That's good. How about excitement? Okay, it's 1/3 or half. How about then the ability and understanding? That's great to see. So, a little bit, mostly the challenge was that most people are not excited about it, but then also the ability and understanding. Understanding is the big problem, what leads to the next slide. So, when it comes to the deployment itself, I usually have formed this kind of like a 3-step approach of how we can get that new practice or understanding in our organization and make it much more successful. And as we spoke earlier, that everyone does things on the easiest way possible. So that's why our first step before we teach anything is to excite people. We need to get them interested. We need to get them engaged. They want to get that benefit that you are selling them when you are speaking about the BIM and BIM-based tools or practices. And when it comes to the excitement, I mean, there's plenty of ways to get employees or people excited. But personally, what I have found, as you see in the triangle, the more higher we go on this pyramid of engagement, the more personalized touch you need to start doing. So if we want to make a benefit for, or if we want to motivate someone with self-transcendence or heirlooms, it needs to be really personalized, but it's also really effective. And when we are talking about the organizational scale of deployments, it's much more easier to focus on the functional level because those benefits and excitement creators applies to the most of the employees in the organization. And from those functional levels, I have found so far like the 3 easiest to create or think. Of course, everyone knows positive benefit. We do things faster, easier, more effective, less hassle. But then also we have negative benefit. And negative benefit doesn't mean whip and carrots. Negative benefit basically means is that we humans, we want to avoid negative emotions. We don't want to feel stressed, frustrated. We don't want to go shutting down fires all the time on our work sites. The negative benefit is getting to the second level on the emotional, because it's really powerful that we can avoid something that is really dislikeful and burns us in our work. And it's really easy to tell the horror stories to the foremen and site engineers when things are not done on the right way, and those negative benefits gets them excited that, hey, okay, GNSS receiver sounds interesting, let's explore this. And finally, the reward. The reward itself, it's not very effective source of engagement in long term. You cannot have a reward program for 2 years because after the employee has get a couple of rewards, next reward has to be house or Ferrari. Like it grows really fast. So rewards are like really good ways to kickstart or push the small changes, but we cannot have it as like this long-term engagement creator. That's why the positive and negative benefits are crucial. But now when we have excited the employees about the GNSS receiver, we can start involving them. And in involving, there's basically 3 different techniques of teaching. We have the basic trainings. So we start, of course, by the excitement with the benefit. We go through the basics, and then we set the responsibilities. Especially in trainings, I think you can also I think you also agree with me that when we have 1 day or half-day trainings, usually you only remember 3 or 4 key things from it. And those 4 key things should be only the benefit, the basics, how the user can get to that benefit, and what is your responsibility. Nothing else matters because they don't remember. And that's the initial kickoff to get that new practice running on our projects or organizations. But that's not enough because it's only the basics. They just can get the minimal benefit on themselves. They still don't understand the whole concept. They are still a little bit lost, but they are interested about the benefit, and they know a little bit about the basic practices, and they know it's their responsibility to use that GNSS receiver. So that's why many companies have built their support, so BIM specialists, BIM coordinators, BIM managers, the people who help the rest of the organization to give a fish. But many organizations forget that they should also teach them to fish as well. And that's something like the support gives that more advanced understanding of those tools and systems and practices and processes. But it always starts with you little bit of give a fish, they get more and more benefit, they are more excited about the new ways of doing things. But then you start teaching that, hey, maybe I don't give you this fish, but we can look at fish hook you have. Let's figure out that we can do it together. And they start learning themselves, and they start getting self-confidence about how things are done and getting more and more benefit. And they start learning the deep understanding of that concept, which leads us to the final and I would say the most crucial step, the enablement. So self-learning and peer learning. You saw the slide before, there was the steps from development to pilot and testing, and then we had deployment and continuous improvement. And that's, I think, the most crucial step that most organizations are really missing. Like, we can develop a lot of things, we can do things really fast, we can deploy some practices by command or by specialists, but we don't enable people to learn by themselves. Let's hope this clock is correct. So, continuous improvements and to enabling everyone to learn from the colleagues and also share their own findings to the rest of them. Personally, I'm not expert on this. I'm still figuring out things on my part as well regarding the continuous improvement and enabling the organizational employees to achieve things. But so far what I have found is the empowerment is really crucial. We have, of course, organizational challenges. All of our organizations have. We may not have a culture that enables self-development or accomplishment of personal goals. We may not have a trust in our team or management that really supports us employees to succeed. We may not have a process that creates control for its user or clarity and should minimize the exhaust and problems. It might be much more chaotic. Or we don't have a tools or means that benefits us in our projects, and we feel alone. And the other part is grouping. We, especially AEC industry, but I feel it's most of the industries, we are living in hero cultures. It's all about the individuals who are making those big changes, and it's all about those individuals who know the best. But the grouping, the we mentality, the organizational approach that it's much more important to think that we as YIT are much more better than the competition, or we as YIT are doing things much more efficiently or much more better quality or something like that. So we are not so individualistic, but we are more part of the whole concept, whole organization. And to get that we are supporting and learning from each other and giving support to each other is really crucial, where we then need that outlet for self-learning and sharing to the peers. So, as a final slide, this screen you have seen before, but this is how I usually approach when it comes to the anything deployments or to get something adopted. We have the development and piloting, that's nothing new. We all of us have done this kind of things, but most organizations stops after the deployment. They feel that, hey, now when the practice is deployed, we don't need to worry about this anymore. This part of BIM or this part of this process is already adopted. But what people don't really realize is that things always improve and evolve. So the work that you just now did, you need to do that again in 3 years because things have improved or new technologies have appeared. And that's why the continuous improvement and enablement of the organization is in really crucial part to achieve the good adoption and not always be in behind or stuck at some certain specific situations. Great. Well, I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jero. Questions from audience, use the message wall. I have some questions about it, like what was the results, or what are the results at the moment? How has the performance adapted the GNS receivers?
Well, I mean, all the projects that I have took the GNS receivers, they have token it, and we have lessened the cost of surveying consultants. So it has been good. But I think the phase where we are now is that we want to get that knowledge and excitement shared from those foremen to the rest of the YIT. So the deployment itself has been successful, but we want to go much more further.
How does the surveyors feel about that?
The consultants, our subcontractors, I don't know, we haven't hired them.
Yeah, but is there some resistance in the on the construction side from the surveyor side?
No, I mean, well, anyone who has been working in BIM-based production in infrastructure knows that the surveyors amount of work that surveyors has received has quadrupled in couple of last year. So I mean, they are more relieved and happy that, hey, I can finally focus on my own work, and some of these tasks have been spread with the rest of the construction team.
Okay, there's one question now here. What rewards have you tested, and do you recommend to implement digital changes to site people?
Well, I mean, result-oriented rewards are always effective. If you make a profit, you get a share, and so on. Like, these kind of rewards are always effective, but it's also very like spot. Yeah, it's like, I would say it's a good way to engage, or excite people, but it's also the worst one. So, I mean, result-oriented. That's the most effective one. Money talks usually.
How about the first time that they have been using the GNSS receiver? Because it's like at the moment the construction site here in Finland and for you in YIT, there is no surveying sticks anymore because you are using machine control in all the work sites, and of course that means that there is no markings for the foremen anymore. So how is it like when they get a tablet in the first time, they get all the data, they can see everything that what's happening in every place. They see the heights. What has been the first emotional feelings after that? Because it has been always that the surveyor has the knowledge, but now it's also for the foremen on the real work site. So
that's a good question. Like, I mean, of course, first when you are giving them GNSS receiver, they are like scared that too complicated and everything is chaotic, and I don't know, do I want to learn something new and everything? But when they just learn the basic put everything on and get a grab on some OpenBIM model or the line graphics, then they have been like relieved that they don't anymore need to go to the office to look PDFs or ask from the machine controller drivers to show their own tablet, but they have themselves like their own. So they can now less dependent on machine controls or PDFs. They can just go to wherever they want to figure out and see their drawings and plans wherever they are, especially for the like new areas of that project that we are now starting, and we are starting the work planning on that area. It's so much like that has been like the most biggest crucial point that has been like the game changer for foremen. After that, each foreman has been like hallelujah about that GNSS receivers.
So it's the first test. After that, it's everything goes like smoothly. Excitement.
Get them to achieve one benefit, and they get excited, they get hooked, and then you can expand that skill set.
Yeah, there's a very good question from Thomas. Do you have early adopters as part of your implementation strategy?
I mean, of course, each organization has early adopters, but I would say it's less irrelevant. I mean, everyone is interested to do things the easiest way possible. So anyone can be your early adopter if you sell the thing correctly. So, I mean, you don't need to search for early adopters. You need to just find the right words or right benefits that excite people, and you have your adopters.
Okay, Thank you, Jero. It was it was very interesting to hear. So, thank you. We are getting a 3 minutes break before next presentation. Thank you.